Hey, look at this chaos. Not only is this little seat ripped and torn open, but it's missing a big chunk of foam, like a shark took a bite out of this thing. And it's been charbroiled. But guess what? You can fix stuff like this, and you can do it to pretty much any motorcycle seat you have. I'm not kidding. This is that seat you were just looking at. I rebuilt this beauty in no time at all, using all the steps you'll see in this video. And I ended up using almost all of the original seat foam. Really. So, have a look, because you can do it too. Here we go. First part of this game is going to be to get this vinyl cover off. 9 times out of 10, they're just held on with these little pointy bits of metal that you can pretty much force up with a screwdriver. Now, they're not all like this. The newer seats that have a plastic base will use staples. And there's probably a few other variants of that, but whatever you got to do, just free up the vinyl from the base. There we go. Okay. A little bit of a historic event here. This cover has been on here since at least 1969. Now we're taking it off. And there you are. Nice. Here's the cover. Looks pretty beat up. Is there any saving that? Not a chance. Yeah, I think that's had it. But look at this foam. This side looks great. When you look at this side, not so much. Did they actually glue these things on? There's little pockets of resistance here. Maybe part of this is because it was melted. Somebody took a torch to this thing and kind of burnt it onto the base. It's not coming willingly, I'll tell you that. Ooh, baby, come on now. Oh, there we go. Kind of monkey ass shit setup you got going on here, boy. Did you ever work a camera before? The shit you doing? Ooh, that's pretty ugly. There's a couple of ways we can go with it. Well, 3 ways. We either try and source a brand new hunk of foam, which they are available. Oh yeah, sort of available. Now I did find this one on eBay, and it was, what, $60 US to buy it, and another $40 US to ship it. In Canadian dollars, that's like $250. So that wasn't gonna be an option for me. Or we can repair this one by maybe cutting out the bad bit and gluing in a new chunk of foam and kind of forming and molding it on. Or we buy a whole new chunk of foam and see if we can't just carve it ourselves. And then we got to come up with a new vinyl part. We could either make one or source one. I think these are easily sourceable, but we'll... Hell yeah, they are. Look at that. The exact piece we need. And it's a Canadian site too, so we're not going to get soaked with bullshit exchange rates. And that's the base plate. So there's nothing really wrong with the base plate. There's a little bend here in this spot. So there you go. Base plate, vinyl, and foam. That's all we got to do. And how hard can it be? I don't know. Something will happen. It always does. Let's go find some foam. Okay, I'm down here at Foam Land, down in the Foam District.
Foam Land.
Okay, Ted's cutting me off a big slice here. That's how the pros do it. And I got some glue, and I got all the advice that I need. He said it's going to work out great. Right, Ted? Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
No problem.
Got everything we need. Nice chunk of foam, some proper foam glue. And probably the most important thing was some solid advice from Ted. So, fortune favors the bold. Let's crack on and do this. Now the important part here is to accurately measure the cut lines so the bottom and the top markings sync up perfectly. It'll really help in lining up the blade so it doesn't wander and get off 90 degrees. The X's mark the chunk we're cutting out. Now the fun part. These things are super sharp, cut through pretty much anything. And I'm thinking it'll leave a real clean cut. Now, if we run into any bone, we got a hacksaw. Or, check out this baby. Yeah! That's gotta do something. It can hack up a turkey pretty easy, so it'll do a good job on this, I'm sure. Now, on the short side cut, the X-Acto blade worked pretty well, although it did bind a little bit, but I really wanted to try the carving knife on the long cut. And I'm glad I did, because it's definitely the way to go. Plus, it looked bizarrely mesmerizing on the video, because the frequency of the knife combined with the frame rate of the camera created a weird undulating effect in the foam. Kind of like Homer Simpson on a treadmill. Here you go. So the next bit is to glue in a chunk of foam that's going to fit perfectly in here. Let's use Ted's factory edge right here against this surface. Mark that out. Give ourselves lots to play with here. There you go. That's looking pretty good. I'm real happy with that fit. All that's left is glue this thing in place. Okay, now one word of caution. This spray type glue is nasty stuff. You really don't want to be breathing it in. I'm starting to see back in time. You don't want to be breathing this shit. The indicator on there is this skull and crossbones. All right, let's stick this together. Okay, now a few wraps of tape works great to hold it all together until it dries. We're wrapping this thing up like a Christmas present. Ted, if you're watching this, what do you think? It's gonna work? All right, well, time will tell. See you tomorrow. Okay, made it back. I think it's about time we unwrap this thing and see where we're at. So now we're ready for the next phase, getting rid of the bulk of the foam so we can fine tune this contour a little better. Let's start hacking. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think we've gone as far as we can go with the turkey cutter. We're close enough that we can start profiling and matching this contour of the seat with a sander. I'm gonna take it outside to do that because it is gonna be messy as hell. Let's go do it. Okay, we're gonna try our hand at shaping this thing. You're just taking off a little bit of foam at a time, try and match the contour of this side to this side. I'm gonna use this flat disc here. It is a 60 grit, but it is worn down from being used on metal and stuff, so it's not quite as aggressive as if it was just a fresh 60, because that would rip the shit out of it. Let's go. Nice and smooth, the joints are tight, the profiles are really close. Let's go. Okay, glad we did that outside. What a messy project that was. But look at the results. Are you kidding me? Look how good that turned out. Especially when you look at what we had, right? It's almost impossible to think that you could replace something like that and end up with a fairly good job. It's not perfect, but man, oh man, it is close. The only thing we have left to do is fix up this small crack here. So it's just a small crack. I'm gonna fill that up with some glue and then patch this sort of scar that's on the outside. I'm not gonna bother filming that. You get the idea. You just get glue, you just get foam, slap it in. Boom, that was easy. You can see here the crack is all filled in. The scar's covered up. It doesn't look all that pretty, but it's gonna be very functional. It's kind of like my old pickup truck. The next piece of this puzzle is gonna be the base plate. Now, you remember the base plate had a bit of a bend in it. I fixed that up. I also took it outside, scraped all the rust off this thing, fixed up the coping trim, and gave it a quick shot of paint. It didn't need much work at all. This thing was in pretty great shape. Next piece of this puzzle is we gotta get this foam stuck to this thing. Now, I'm just gonna use silicone caulking. It's not like we're making this thing stuck on there just with this. The vinyl seat itself is gonna help hold this thing down. Line this guy up. As long as it's centered. Now, to hold this down, I'm just gonna use bits of rope. Just like you're tying a Christmas tree down to the roof of your car. Let this dry overnight. See you tomorrow. Okay, let's land this plane. It's been long enough. Unhog tie this heifer and see where we're at. Okay. Is it stuck? That's a good sign. Next up is the cover. Now I did end up going and ordering that cover we saw earlier in the video. It was brilliant. It came in no time at all. I think I ordered it on a Monday and got it on Thursday. So brilliant. Full mark for those guys. Now we take a look inside or see what we get. Look at this, comes with a sticker. Vintage Honda Supply Company, Phatt MX. Look at that, there's the company right there. And let's check out the quality here. Let's compare it to the original. The build quality feels good. It's nice thick vinyl. Okay, all right, I'm liking it. So let's try it. Fold it over. This is like when your wife told you that you couldn't get in your original pants from high school and you were sure you could. This is kind of the same thing. You're squeezing yourself in, convinced that you can do it. Oh yeah, you can do it. You might get your legs in, but you're not doing up the zipper or clipping that top button. Let's flip this over and start nailing it down. See these little bits here? See that? It's got to go up and around the edge of the seat pan. and then clip onto those little teeth. I'm gonna get the center line first, get those hooked in. It's really not that hard, you just gotta take your time lining it up and getting those little teeth pierced through properly, and try and make it as tight as possible. It's nice and tight, it looks good, feels good, smells good, at least for now, until people start sitting on it. I'm gonna call that a win. On to the next project, and if you want to see what that is, check it out, right there. You might be glad you did. All right, I got stuff to do. See ya.